we are live.
This is 2OF Entertainment.
Wow, and we are back.
Yeah, good day to you. Yeah,
Good day. How's it
going?
going?
The sun, yeah, the sun. I was going to say the sun came up, but the sun is still behind all the smoky clouds and the smoky skies that we've had from all the forest fires. But hopefully, it's going to dissipate. It's the 5th season we have. So we have 5 seasons in Canada, and one of them is fire and smoke.
Wow, that's a nice season. I don't remember studying that when I was in school, but that's a nice season to have, I guess. Fire and smoke.
No, it's not. It's really hard on a lot of people with their lungs, and you can't see very far. I mean, it's like a London fog at times.
Oh, but with fire and smoke. Very nice. Something to do.
Some kind of song in there somewhere. You know,
I'm sure there is. We'll go find it and see if YouTube will let us play it.
Yeah,
Smoke on the Water by Deep Purple.
There you go.
Deep Purple, Smoke on the Water.
Theme music. Yeah. Anyway, back to reality of art. And
you have a person. You have a person today that's got some. I've looked at her work. It's very cool.
It is cool, and you know what? And it's I like it in that it's very consistent in a medium. So she's painting with water as a base for her portraitures, and I'll call them portraitures because a lot of times these are people immersed in water, and it's about reflection, and it gives you a tranquility and a feeling from the works. I mean, they're quite vibrant, and it's not just I don't know how to explain it, but we'll talk with Vanessa.
Vanessa, stop drinking in the morning. I'm telling you, unless I'm there.
Together, and Vanessa is a graduate of Grant MacEwan University and University of Alberta, and she's living just south of Edmonton in the community of Leduc, and she's a teacher, and she teaches on a reserve. She has for 10 years as well. So we'll see how some of that's affecting some of what she's thinking and what she does to help her kids that she's teaching as well. So let's bring Vanessa in.
And there's Vanessa. Welcome to the show, Vanessa.
Good morning, Paul and Stephen.
Good morning. Yes. Look at all that great work behind you. I love your studio.
You two have a wonderful interview. I'm going to disappear because, like I said, nobody wants me just to point things out and going, oh, it's really pretty, because I know nothing about art. So have fun. I'll see you guys at the end.
Yeah, see you a bit later. Well, good day to you. Good day. So how's the smoke there as well? You got a little bit of smoke in the air?
Yeah, there was a little bit, but it's definitely cleared up. So
yeah, well, the wind's picking up a little bit, moving. It was so still here the other day, and the smoke is finally clearing a little bit. It's really hard on a lot of people, and I think it's hurt a lot of people. Like a lot of artists really like to get out and enjoy the plein air painting and different things, and it's really affected a lot of things. But most of the environment, I mean, everything's been that way. Anyway, we have let's talk about something positive here. You got some great work to show. I've known your work for a little while. You've been an artist in Canada for a while, and I saw your work and I thought, we've got to have Vanessa on. I mean, there's really.
Oh, thank you.
I think it's a fresh kind of piece of work, and I think a way of looking at things. We always kind of look at what does an artist do in their journey, a little bit how a person gets to a place that they're at. And there's so many other artists and people trying to understand, well, why did they paint like that? Where do they get their ideas from? So we're going to talk a little bit about that, which is going to really surprise a lot of people, where your ideas come from. And we'll leave it at that till we get to that moment. Can you tell us a little bit about your lack of words art journey? How do you to get to this point where you are right now? What have you gone through from your early years to now? Can you give us about
So I have been drawing since I was a kid. Yeah. And then when I was in high school, trying to figure out, okay, what am I going to do after this? And I was really fascinated by at the time, it was Grant MacEwan College. and then they just had a 2-year diploma, visual arts diploma. So I went there a couple of years for their open house, and my mom came with me, and I just thought, hey, this is a great way for me to start. If I don't want to do a Bachelor of Fine Arts, at least I can have a 2-year diploma to show for it. And I didn't have a backup plan. It was just Grant MacEwan. So I applied there, and of course you have to put a portfolio and a statement of intent, why you want to go. And thankfully I got in, it all worked out. And it was just an amazing experience that I wanted to continue and get my Bachelor of Fine Arts. So naturally, because I lived in Edmonton at the time, I just went to the U of A, transferred there. Unfortunately, some of my credits did not transfer over, so it took a little bit longer. But yeah, we have different options to take, what we want to specialize in our mediums. And I thought, hey, like, I'm great at drawing. I understand that, but I do not understand painting at all. Colors just, it intimidated me so much. So I thought, I'm going to school, I'm going to learn, so I'm going to specialize in painting. And that's what I ended up doing. So specialized in painting, and I had a number of great teachers, Alan Ball, Brenda Christensen, Scott Cumberland. They were all fantastic instructors. So I had a really great time.
Yeah. No, it's good to have an educational background. My mother went back to she went to MacEwan as well. After us kids had all moved away from home and got busy doing other things, and my mother went back to school, which was really cool because I was then I was going to art college at that time in Calgary, and my mom was going to Grant MacEwan at the same time. So it was just kind of cool. We had this conversation every once in a while when I came home, and about our art experiences, learning. And it's kind of cool to see a parent, who's going back into re-education, into something she really wanted to do, that she put on the side burner for all those 20 some years as our kids kind of move through the, and travel and all the different things that go on with busy family life. And a woman gives up a lot of that for her family. And unfortunately, and art is one of those things you like you said, where am I going to go with this? Like, what am I going to do? So where have you gone with it? Where did you go after you got out of your university?
Yeah. So at the U of A, I was like, okay, what am I going to do with this Bachelor of Fine Arts? And I was I was also really interested in psychology. So I was taking a lot of prerequisite psychology courses so that I could go to Augustana for their art therapy degree. But then I went to an info session and I realized, oh man, this is not for me. So after that, I realized, okay, I will do teaching. That's what I'm going to do. So I got an after degree in teaching. And then soon after, I was teaching out on the reservation in Muskwacheese. So, and I've been there ever since. And some years I'm not teaching art. Believe it or not, I've taught math and science as well. So, and kind of different, right, than what you would expect an art teacher to be doing. But I feel like I really connected more with math and science because it wasn't very subjective. Like, it was very clear cut what the answers were. So
Well, a lot of that, they want to see your process, how you get to the end. The math area as well. But it'd be nice to figure out how to move some art stuff into that programming a little bit to keep the interests up as well, so you're not falling asleep in the back row when you get into those kind of programming. But it's interesting because a lot of other artists have profession of something else to fall back on, especially in the early years when you're developing your your oeuvre, what you're doing. I'm gonna get Dave or Stephen to just start our first image up here. It's something that's sitting on the side, and you can look at that while we're talking. And so we go through, you go through the college and understanding and universities about design, and you got a color palette and things coming together. So do you wade right into the water? Like, where does this reference come from? Do you wade into the water with your camera, or you kind of like,
Right.
where does this come
So how I started off was I've just been getting licensing images, paying $15 or $30 for somebody, photographers online, and paying for their images. Some of them are actually free, like on Unsplash. So this one here, I actually wanted to try something different, and it's actually on birchboard. So
Okay.
this is the only one that's on wood, and it's not on canvas.
Right.
And then I just thought, this is a beautiful image with the complementary colors, the diagonal lines. It just really spoke to me. So, and the bright, vibrant colors as well. So
we're going to go through a whole series of a lot of paintings with people in water, right? So
yeah.
When I first looked at these, I mean, they're portraitures without being a specific person, being that you've pulled these images and paid for them online, and you don't know who these people are. So this now adds another element of your interest. Like, how do you make that yours, right? So I think a lot of it comes from that, is trying to interpret your interpretation of what that photographer was shooting, but making it your response to that imagery. And this one, I love this image. I mean, it's punchy color. It's almost pop art a little bit, right?
Yeah.
Just due to the hard edge bang of color. I mean, I love work that I have questions about. Like, if you give me all the answers, I walk on to the next one.
Exactly. Yeah.
This one, can you tell me a little bit what you see in this piece of work that kept you wanting to paint this one, right?
Yeah, I just thought that the lights, the reflections on the woman were just gorgeous, and the sun kind of coming through. One of the words that I've learned is caustic reflection. So this reflection, say like on her arm and on her neck, that's what you would call a caustic reflection. So you can see that light kind of like bending on her arm and everything like that. So I just thought that that was a little bit more intriguing than just kind of a flat color.
Yeah. So are most of these images, say, from swimming pools? Is that, you've kind of guessed that's where a lot of them were shot?
Yeah, I think some of them were from swimming pools. Like, photographers have set up some different background, like lighting and some reflectors and stuff like that. They also have scuba equipment. Some of these are like pretty intense that I've seen. Yeah. So, but I'm not too sure if this one was in a pool or not. Sometimes they turn off all of the lights, and then they just have some lights inside the pool. That's it.
So is it a goal somewhere down the road that you'll actually get your own underwater camera and do some of these kind of things with your own models?
Yeah, I think so. I've also been looking online. There's some amazing underwater photographers. You can pay for their classes, and they will show you how to do it. I was just at the Leduc Art Walk this weekend, talk about smoke and heat. That was a killer.
Yes.
Yeah. So I talked with the mom there, and her daughter was a synchronized swimmer, and she just thought, wow, this is amazing. Like, if she could get somebody to photograph her daughter and her swim mates and everything like that, that'd be fantastic. But to find an underwater photographer, it doesn't exist, like around the Edmonton location, who is like very specialized, right? Yeah. So I think that would be pretty fascinating to do something like that.
Yeah, they're very specialized on doing things like that, I would think. Being that they're immersed for quite a length of time. But surprisingly, a lot of times, I think the camera just has to be under the surface of the water, so you're not there. And sometimes they build devices, that little plastic box or glass box.
Yeah, housing device. Yeah.
So it holds back the water, so you're dry in there. But some of these shots, it's just lovely. It's it's a powerful piece. I love the design in this thing, and it just like I said, it just has a nice bunch of punch. Then you come to this one. I thought ET all over the place. I mean, I just thought this is such a crazy surreal image. I mean, and you kind of go, now you said this one, did this one just sell recently?
Yeah, that one just sold at the White Avenue Art Walk. And actually, I had met the woman who purchased it a couple of years ago at what's called the Wabamun Art Walk. And so she had been eyeing my pieces for several years and then decided that she would really like to purchase this one. But I think like for the longest time, I felt like realism, if you can draw realistically, then you are a true artist, right? And I didn't understand abstraction. I had really no appreciation for it whatsoever. But over the years, I've developed a definite appreciation for abstract art. And I think there's like this tie between abstraction and realism. Like if you look simply at the top half or 2/3, you definitely think this is just an abstract image. But incorporating everything, it's realism plus abstraction, which I think is quite interesting.
Yeah, which creates kind of a surreal image, right? And this can be, you know, it can be your mark as to what you do. I mean, how you fragment a figure, yet you still know what it is relative to the environment. So this water's a little greener side, and the light's a little different, little yellower, warmer. It's kind of a caustic lighting a little bit in it, almost fluorescent lighting a little bit with it is. But you know, it's funny how you take the body of a person, like in the lower half, and when you look from the surface, it flattens the face out completely, like it's been flattened with a roller, right? And it mushes it, and then with all the way the water moves, it just breaks up and fragments, and it does create these cool abstracted images. And it's just funny how water fragments things just for the light, the way things come through it. But to see a body of work, so what really is that? Was I guess the exciting part was to, I guess, perpetuate one painting one after the other in the same way, but loving just the immersed in water feeling all the time through your body of work. What is it you saw that's how you like to paint? For now, I'll even call it just for now. For now, you like painting like that.
Well, it was definitely a process to figure out this subject matter that I wanted to do. And I'm just thinking about my identity, who I am, and the background information and what makes me me, right? And how do I connect to the subject matter? And like, I just feel like there's some artists out there that they'll take subject matter that they have absolutely no connection to. Like if there's a Canadian artist and they're painting a whole bunch of zebras and like African type like subject matter, to me, I don't understand that. Like, how do they have a connection to that? And if they've never even like seen a zebra in real life. And so I feel like I wanted something that I really connected to. And with my background, like my father's background is Mennonite. And I was thinking, oh, maybe I could do stuff about Mennonite and explore my heritage or Scottish background. But I just kept on like working into it and realizing like I still have no connection to this. Like I've never been on a colony before. I think I attended one Scottish event in my life. And so really nailing down, what do I identify with? And I have been swimming lanes for about 15 years. And it took me a while. Even in university, I was swimming lanes with classmates just during our breaks, during the classes. And it took me a while to realize, hey, like, this is an amazing subject matter that I can talk about for years. There's so many different ways that I can look at this. So, yeah, I don't know if that answers your question.
Well, yeah, I mean, you understanding that you're a swimmer, so it only makes sense that it's what you see and think while you're swimming.
Yeah.
Swimming lanes. I mean, it is what it is. But I think finding that you have an environment that you feel comfortable in, I think that's probably where it starts, right?
Yeah.
And I think if you can put that and bring it into your artwork, that even strengthens that, because you can always go back to that visual of you actually swimming lanes to say, oh, that's what I was looking for, that reflection, that might work. Keep that in the back of your head while you finish doing what you're doing. When you go home, can I apply it? So how is this has it helped you in your teaching with the kids a little bit? Like, how do you transverse what your learning is and give that to the kids and feedback kids back to you? How has that been working?
Yeah. So how I start my classes is just the beginning of every class. We do a sketch for like 15, 20 minutes. I put a different, some kind of Canadian Indigenous artist on the board, and we sketch it together. And so during that time, like I'm sketching it on the big whiteboard and I'm just talking with them because it's kind of boring if it's quiet. So we might talk about things that are happening during the day, but if I've, submitted something to an art walk, or if I've been in contact with a client or some kind of thing, we can talk about that and different things that I've been working on, say like prints and what to do and what not to do. And just talking about that with them, because I didn't have that when I was in high school. My art teacher didn't have conversations with us. And it was my art teacher sat at her desk and just didn't talk to us. She didn't really teach us anything. So, I just think it's great to have these conversations and for kids to see, hey, like it's possible to sell my work out there. These are the different kind of like little opportunities that I could start working with. And I just talk about like, okay, as an Indigenous person and living on a reserve, what are some things that, you see every day or experience every day? What are some things, that you can talk about, that you have a connection to? And I said, like to you, it may seem kind of boring and mundane, like you see it every day, but for other people, it is interesting. And one of the things I always joke about is like, maybe you could make a series about reservation dogs. Like, I think it would be pretty funny. So many different little characters running around. Or regalia. I just think there's just endless possibilities of different topics that they can kind of talk about that they relate to.
Yeah. Paint and draw what you know.
Yeah, exactly.
That's usually the best thing. So do you use any other devices to help bring your imagery together and find new images? Can you talk a little bit about your source material and how you resource things?
Yeah. So like I said, like for the last year, paying licensing fees, but a huge thing that I've been exploring for the past 2 years is artificial intelligence. And a friend introduced me to it one day at like this dinner party, and I had no idea what she was talking about. It just didn't make sense to me. Like you write something and then it makes the picture. I was like, how come I have never heard about this before? And so I looked it up and I came across a program called MidJourney. And it's like a little bit complicated, but not too complicated. You don't have to download anything necessarily onto your computer. You have to talk to this AI through Discord. So you set up a chat and you talk to it, and you can say /imagine, and you can imagine whatever you want. Colors, subject matter. You can also tailor it to, kind of different maybe styles that you want. Like, do you want impressionist, realism? Do you want it to be high definition, photo, a sketch, black and white? You can also tailor it to the aspect ratio. So maybe you have a canvas that's a very odd size and you don't necessarily want to crop the image afterwards or anything like that. And it will come up with a pretty interesting, well, sometimes composition. So I think at the beginning it defaulted to just the center, very symmetrical. So if you needed to be a little bit more specific, asymmetrical, different kind of composition. So that's what I've been playing with for 2 years. And I know there are some AI artists that have definitely generated more images than me, but I've at least generated 10,000 images on MidJourney. So a lot of that I did while my little boy was napping, sleeping, and trying to wait for him to fall asleep. So I would sit there and generate images. So, yeah.
So how do those images be part of your work? So what do you do to embrace that technology for what we're doing as an artist today? Because things are moving. They're not going to stop.
Yeah, exactly.
I always have felt that AI was a bit of a crutch, but I think how do you not everybody can draw, but boy, some people can be very articulate in words to generate a vision. And that makes good writers when they could do that. Well, if you can take that writer's capability and apply it to visual art, you say you have a very good sense of descriptive signals, I guess even call it to a chat, right? And figuring out how to do that. Does that become art? Does that belong to the artist when it's finished, or is it one of those collaborative things that you've pulled things from all over the net that really weren't? It's kind of unwritten, copywritten types of material if used as is. But do you feel we're allowed to use bits and pieces and then interpret? How do you interpret it from there? I mean, you're not printing these off on your printer. You're repainting them and doing things. But can you tell us a little bit how you feel about it?
Yeah, so I have been participating in an AI course with what's called The Hug, and they're collaborating with another site called Stability AI. And they've had a number of AI artists visit. And one of them was Claire Silverman, I think that's her name. And she talked about like everybody has their own opinion of how the AI collects the information, how it even works for it to learn. And, you know, some people are saying that it's not learning at all and all this stuff. But I think over time, like, it's kind of like us in a way, right? Like over time, we see multiple images of a tree or whatnot. And over time, we realize, okay, this is what a tree looks like. And then we make that image, right? In our mind. And is that copywriting, right? And same with all the images that are taken, that the computer is trained on, that the AI is trained on. I don't know. I don't believe that like there's this copyright issue. I think it's generating something like, okay, you want me to describe a person. This is the general shape of a head. This is what lips look like. These are what eyes are, right? And over time, it's like it's making its own image. I think like there's this saying like there's nothing new under the sun, right? And I just feel like, yeah, it's just in a way though, like some of the stuff that AI creates and puts together, like people are really, really stretching what AI can do. And there's like these things where they start imagining stuff that isn't even there. So I don't know, like, I think there's some pretty cool things that AI can actually produce together and, you know, just kind of following maybe the rules of physics with light and shadow and everything like that. When you look at it, you're like, yeah, that makes sense. But I have never seen that before. Yeah. So I just think it's pretty brilliant.
So is with AI, is there a cookie crumb left? In other words, a trail left. So if you went back into somebody's AI generated image, can you somehow figure out the wording they used to generate that?
So there is a way, like you can just see, like on the website, you will see the prompt that they used, the description. Okay. And you can copy the prompt, you can put it in, but sometimes people have uploaded, say, their own images, and so they can do it backwards. So instead of using text to image, they can upload an image, and then that image, you can create an entirely new image. So like I've even done that with myself. Like I've uploaded a picture of myself, and it doesn't always like look like me, but I'm still learning. Like I really want to learn, okay, how can I train this AI? And so that's why I'm taking this course. So you need a minimum of 5 images at least to train AI, 5 to 15. And so there's this way you can download these programs onto your computer. They're free. So MidJourney is not free. You have to pay a subscription for it. But there's other ones that you don't have to.
So you can, so you can actually take your image and use that as a base and then add to it, right?
Yeah.
Is that how I understand that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And then to answer your question, like, so you can copy the prompt and then you could generate your own image. Or there's another way that you can say, instead of saying imagine, you can say describe. So you can upload your image and you can ask MidJourney, can you describe this to me? And then, so it will generate 4 different options for you for the description. And then you can say, okay, now make all these as a picture. So then it will make it as a picture, and then you can pick, okay, that one's the closest to me.
Okay. Yeah. It kind of makes the thing in the old days, and I'll say the black and white days of photography, it was, if the police had a photo and he said that was evidence in court now to say, you know, that person, here's the evidence and here's the picture that proves that this person, you know, on the scene they had taken pictures of, say, a crime that had happened. But today it's really hard to do that. I mean, from even the early days of just Photoshop,
right,
images could be manipulated.
Right.
Now they can be very easily manipulated at the digital stage. There is no film for that. So how far do you figure this is going to go? Like, is this the beginning of a trend of some kind of new art form that's going to be? So in other words, it becomes, you could tell that this is an AI artist specifically just by the kind of words they use and kind of descriptions and imagery they have as a base. So they would ended up having a look to their work, you know, specifically because of their prompts that they use that are unique to them. Even though other people could see them, nobody else can kind of visualize the same way they do. Right. Is that possible? That you think that's going to
definitely. Yeah.
It's probably already happening, I would think.
Yeah, for sure.
When you've generated 10,000 images, you're already in a rhythm somehow. There's something.
Yeah, and to say like that it's easy, it's not. And I mean, at the beginning, they didn't look like anything. Like they looked like blobs, and I'm sure like you've seen these images of people with like, you know, they have 10 fingers, right? Like it just doesn't make sense. But now, like the hands, for instance, like they absolutely make sense. So just over time it changes, and you will, you know, develop a style. But I think one of the things is like, okay, you can make all these images. So now what? I think the big thing behind it is like your idea, your thought behind it. Like, since anybody can technically make these now, right? Like, what is your idea? And when I first started putting in the prompts, like to me, it was pretty challenging. And I realized my lack, even though I have so many years of university, like my lack of descriptive words and all this stuff. And I'm just like, okay, I'm not getting what I want. Like, what am I supposed to tell this AI so that it will make what I want? And it's like, okay, like, let's try this out. Let's try this out. And looking at other artists, and I've subscribed to the MidJourney magazine, looking at what other people are making. And it's like, wow, that's really beautiful. I would love to try that out. And the images that are selected for the magazine are curated. Multiple people have voted for them. They're the most popular images. So
cool.
Yeah.
Very nice. So we'll just go to this image a bit here.
Yeah.
This is one of these other portraits that I love. And I just, it's a universal portrait, a young woman swimming in the water. And there's just this color palette, it's a gorgeous image. I mean, it leaves a lot of room for me to read a lot of things into this nature, this half in the water, half out of the water feeling. But it's a portrait without being a portrait. What drew you to this image, like as a base, to paint?
Yeah, again, like the beautiful waves, the reflections kind of going up at the top there, and this word anonymity, right? Like, I just feel like if somebody puts a picture of somebody on their wall, like, okay, how do they relate to them? And I think if some part of this portraiture is missing, they can kind of place themselves in that image and to feel that as well. So that's kind of what attracted me to it. And just like, yeah, this woman I was actually in touch with, I talked with her for a bit, and she has multiple images online that she takes of herself in the ocean. I believe it's in Greece, I think it is. And so she has some fabulous images, and I just loved the flow of the hair, and yeah.
It's got there's some nice analogous colors that are happening in the neck and things like that. That just they're flesh, but they're not cold flesh. It's not dead flesh, and it's just kind of there's a really, it's got a lovely vibrance to it. It's just that coolness, and that the hair has a bit of that strike of red. That gives you.
Yeah, and I do manipulate some of the photos.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, and just to kind of get the colors that I think are great, and to make some contrast.
How big are your works normally? Like, and you paint larger than smaller, correct?
Yeah. So this one, I believe, was around maybe 30 by 30.
Yeah, in a square format.
Inches. But a lot of them are around 3 by 4 feet. I did do one lately that was 4 by 5. I just feel like if I paint too small, everything gets so tight. And that's not what I'm going for. Like, I want it to be like slightly looser. So in order to have that, I need more ability to work with my arm.
Yeah, you paint probably with more of your body, like you.
Yeah, exactly.
You're kind of a stand-up painter, or an easel.
Oh, yeah.
Kind of paint acrylic again, probably.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all acrylic. Yeah.
All acrylic. Yeah. Well, it helps with drying, and you're painting in a studio somewhere.
Yeah.
And so you paint outside your home somewhere in a studio?
No. So I actually, my studio's in our basement. I'm very, very fortunate. We purchased this home right when COVID started. So, and when I saw this house, I was like, okay, we are getting this place. And I think it used to be maybe like a little suite or something like that downstairs. So it used to be kind of like a kitchen, and there's a room here. So it's about 420 square feet, which is like a decent size for a little home studio. Yeah. So that's where I work at home.
No, that's great. It's great to have your own space. I mean, I remember early days of me painting, and it used to be on the kitchen table. It kind of limited what you did. I did watercolors in those days, and you had to clean up and for supper and for meals, and then you could put stuff back out later after the kids were to bed or something. But And then finally I got into the basement, and that became a whole other issue of of lighting and all are required for an artist. But we work in all kinds of hovels and produce the work that we produce in the time. So again, this one is a little different. Not only the light and the color, but you're now incorporating infants or young children paint with parents, I'm assuming, or someone teaching someone to swim, or just the awareness of water. How do you feel? Is this a little bit like yourself with your son? There's this I don't know. There's a bonding thing, a trust thing. I'm sensing a lot of things in people, even though these are photos. I guess they're kind of reflections of you and possibly your family as well, right? There's
exactly. Yeah,
that drew you to drawing these and painting these pictures. This is a lovely painting. Again, it's obscured and you don't know who they are, but you'll feel that feeling. The relationship of water can be friendly and water can be dangerous. And how do you make it be what you want it to be, right? So especially when you're entrusted to hold a child who's probably not going to be able to survive very long in the water without your help, that early stage of life anyway. But I guess we do come from a water background when we're born. So initially we've been ready to go back to that. Has some of that stuff ever been part of your ideas, like early years?
Like in the womb?
Maybe. I'm not going to tell you that. I'm asking early years.
Yeah. My early years of swimming, I did not have good experiences, which is kind of ironic. So speaking of, water being dangerous, I remember like falling, well, not falling, but I was in a hot tub and just going underwater and being overwhelmed, like, how am I going to survive this? And somebody brought me back up. I hated swimming lessons because I was so cold. My arms coming out of the water. I didn't want to do that. So I was doggy paddling. But over time, and just, I guess, also, seeing my sons in the water and them just being absolutely delighted by it, even though, we're at the beach or something like that, and they are clearly shivering, but they just love it, right? So
well, I know you run from the burning sand into the cold water. You've been there as a kid. I avoid swimming in the lake now, but kind of anyway, I don't do as much swimming as I used to. Not that I was a great swimmer. I never was. I think I got about partway through enough to survive for a few minutes in the water, but I always thought I had more energy than I did until one day I had to rush from the beach, and my brother-in-law and we thought, okay, we're going to swim out to the diving platform, which looked pretty close, really, But by the time I got about halfway there, I'm going to be darn lucky if I can get there.
Right.
And I hung on there and finally got there. But I think you have to build endurance for those things. And I found I was at a convention one time. We went swimming each day for 4 days, and I was a better swimmer after day 4. Your body had jumped very quickly to that, and swimming is a great exercise, all-around exercise, and enjoyment if you can figure out a way to enjoy those that time. This, I love the bubbles in these pieces. I mean, it really shows a nice depth to things with they're difficult to paint, make them look like bubbles, and the water. And I love the look of this one. It's really nice. And we talked about abstract. This has got a nice abstract quality to them as well. We got to zip through some of these, but I just sort of wanted to, some of us may have seen these kinds of things when we're swimming underwater. Once we learn to open our eyes under the water, and you can see people that are swimming above you, and it's that little shining light from maybe either the sun or the swimming pool. They tend to do different things to see people in different senses of light. The skin tones change. Things change relative to everything, right?
Yeah, exactly. The deeper you get, the less color there is.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Yeah. So have you thought of painting things that are like Caribbean related types of water with other things added to the images? In other words, the coral or the different things like that, or is that distracting?
I think it might be distracting, but at the same time, again, the question is like, how do I relate to it, right? So I've never been scuba diving before, so I've been to Mexico once. So
I think you're a prime candidate for scuba diving, even just with a snorkel. Just because I think I see that in your work. I mean, especially this piece here. I love this thing. It feels a little bit. You've seen those movies where you're going to swim into the cavern and it's under the water and you've got to come out and then pop up the hole on the other side of the water. Right. It's somewhat scary because you kind of go, I got to have enough. I got to hold my breath long enough to get to where I want to go. To pop my head up to have some air at the other end. And you try to figure if you can hold your breath for a minute and a half or 2 minutes, that's really good. I mean, and you have to build endurance. I love the light in this one, but it feels like there's a bottom and a top to the surface, and you're immersed between the two layers, right? That you're going through, and it's a beautiful sunny day. You can see that there's just a confident young child swimming, and it just there's a nice feeling. I love the textures that are happening on the sea floor, lake floor, possibly that
shallow area. Yeah,
and it's a shallow area. It's not really deep. He probably could stand up if he had to. If he's just searching in the bottom, but it's just it's a different visual than some of the other close-up portraitures that you have, and it's more of a full body portraiture of a moment. I guess I'll call it that. We're so used to seeing landscapes and things. But when you see a person immersed in a different world, I guess I'll look at it like that. They are kind of in a different world. She's got to learn how to open her eyes. That's all I can say.
Yeah.
Wonder how many of us it took the chlorine in the water. You go, oh my goodness, I got to open my eyes. I can see where I'm going to go. Yeah. But again, different environments, and each one gives you a different feeling for what's happening in this picture. The yellow bathing suit, really, the colors, it becomes that story again, trying to find what's this about, right? And I like to, is there more questions than answers than about this event? She's the only one in the pool. What is she doing, right? Why is she there? I love the bracelets that she got on her arm. There's a few little things in there that are just, wow, that's quirky, nice. It's something. It's not just
with the flow of the water. Yeah,
it gives you a little flow. The bubbles and the bubble action again is really it's kind of a different way of looking at things. Yeah, color palette again too. Just underwater color is quite different than even above, on top of the water, right? It's just there's direct sunlight that way. This is a lovely image. I mean, you're basically hanging on one leg, like it comes off the bottom of the page, and she's floating backwards in the water. And I just love the drama in this one.
Yeah.
Can you tell us?
And I think like the diagonals, I really was attracted to as well.
Yeah, I think, and you need space, and you've allowed some of that, and darkness, the lightness, and the palette really is quite analogous in the background. The blues and purples, and I think that offers a nice sense of light to the piece. She's not a heavy person; she's floating, right? She's floating nicely, and again, it's a different kind of portrait. And I love the reflections. How normally reflections are, say you're above ground, reflections come towards you in a mirror image. When you're under the water, and the way this is lit, the reflections are at the undersurface of the water, even though they're broken up by the surface of the movement of the water. So you got to get your head around that. You're changing perspectives. Up is down, down is up. right? And
Yeah.
you're looking at things from a different way. I love the light on like her leg and stuff. It's just lovely. I mean, I've been just talking about the piece. I mean, so this image was purchased online as well, and for the use of it.
Yes. Yeah.
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 What kind of manipulation do you use? Do you choose your own colors from that, or do you use their colors as a base?
Yeah. So I like with the Photoshop and everything like that, changing maybe like the warmth or changing one slight color. So like I might move blue over or something like that. But I just thought, oh, like how can this look, of course, realistic, but at the same time, kind of like stretch reality. Like, would you see those colors? Probably not, right? But how can I push it so it's still convincing?
I think it's important to do that because that puts your finger on it. That's yours, your fingerprint.
Mm-hmm.
And especially that you're painting these as well. They're not photographs, so you're painting them, and they have a painterly feel as well. No, this is lovely. I love the design of this piece. It's just I think that's half the battle is a good design.
Yeah,
the other is to be able to paint it as well. Yeah, this one is just a nice. And it's abstract in its sense, because it's just this horizontal lines of her arms and the body. It's just against that aqueous background. That aqua blue. We're just kind of get through a couple of these. We've got a lot of images to show people, and I think it's important to see the diversity then in what you're doing, but you can stay to doing a body of work that is similar but different, right? And that's sort of what I like about some of the pieces that you've got here. I wanted to get to this image because I'd rather this one. It just feels so cool. I mean, she's floating backwards, but it feels like it's a little spatial. It's surreal in its design. You've created horizons of a water line below her, so she's flying in air, and I just it's a little different than the other pieces. It's actually quite different in the other pieces, and it's just that I'm asking way more questions with this one than I am of other ones in my head. What's that about? Why is she there? I love this space. What does it feel like? Is it fantastical? All those, she's definitely. Is she floating, or did she just jump off a trampoline and doing a flip? Right? You got all these lovely questions, and he said it could be in somebody's home or whatever, right? It could be, even though it is swimming based, it has a iconic, I guess the word is an iconic symbolism to it that could be any swimmer. A swimmer would love to have this painting in her home or his home, right? Or a family to say, and it didn't have to be their daughter for it to work. So it just, it's a love. Can you tell us a little bit about this image that it attracted you, I guess is the word?
Yeah, I guess I could see myself in that image, just like kind of being, it's like this anti-gravity image, right? And just that swimming enables you to break some laws of land in a way. And so, like even when I was a kid, I had dreams of like flying and stuff like that. I think maybe that might also be why I'm attracted to swimming, is just like this sense of like, I'm flying. This is great feeling.
Well, and that's I think it's important. You put that, if you're able to put that dream aspect into your work, that is the magic.
I like that comment.
I love seeing those things where you remove yourself from a specific thing that you're talking about, and it's just dream aspects of work, and it's very cool. I just this one especially. I mean, now this one is probably one of your more abstracted pieces. I mean, this one probably equals the What is the second one we looked at? The greener one was almost alien.
Right.
With the green and the white, and it's really, you know, that it, and this one is probably different than the other ones in that this is a male, say a father or someone holding a young child, and again, it's this trusting relationship. You know, this one, just I trust you with my being, right? And the father's is I'm loving you, trust me, right?
Yeah.
Even though you don't see it all until you keep looking and looking and you see different things. Yeah. It's do you have a comment on this piece of work that you could share with us a little bit?
Yeah, so I actually titled this one Radiating Stars. That's kind of the feeling that I got from it. There's this radiation, but also just like, or radiating, just feeling of love and embrace. That's kind of what spoke to me. And so I just think it's a great scene of a father, again, like you said, like loving his daughter, just holding her and having this special moment together.
Yeah. I remember swim lessons and having to hold one of my daughters. Like a Klingon. She was didn't want to be in the water to start with. Why am I doing swimming lessons? So the parent had to be with the child to start with, and then once they got settled in, they were fine. But first couple of sessions, it was Klingon time. Yeah. This one kind of equals the other one that was floating a little bit. You know, it's just it's a surreal world under there in this one. I just these half faces and half heads that are above water, below water, and how the relationship, how they work together, and the warmth of light and skin against the coolness of the water, and it's a very unique image, and I'll put it that way. It's just a unique way of looking at things, and it's been quite refreshing to look at this kind of portraiture. Do you see your work as portraiture in some way?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
So
I love people, but I didn't want to do like just straight on faces.
Right.
I wanted something a little bit more to it.
Well, when it's like this, it really ties them to their love of water. If you're doing it, because they're definitely in the water if you were to do it. So is that one of your objectives, is to get an underwater camera, or figure out a way to do your own, if you can afford it at some point, to do your own photography? I mean, you got to pay models, and you got to book a pool, and it's all these things that are required. It's expensive, and you've got to have a grant, possibly grant writing to put this unique thing together. And but we definitely would like to see all more of the things that you're maybe going to go, and the road that you're going to go down in the next time, and we definitely want to see what you're doing.
Thank you, Paul.
I think you're on a great road, and a way of doing things for your own vision of how you see your art. And I encourage other artists that they have to find their own way, and you'll be a lot happier. But you'll find that things can happen when you find your own vision, and you do things your way. Oh, there he is, thinking again.
I'm back. I don't know. The killjoy's here. It means the show's almost over. So, Vanessa, I like your stuff. It's very cool, very colorful. It pops. So let me ask you this. Price-wise, what's it range from? So if somebody wants to buy it. And then the other thing I noticed is that you give 5% back on everything you sell to charity, which I thought was very cool.
Yeah. To the mental health organization. So right now, like the smaller pieces, 2x3, I'd say, are around $1,000.
Okay.
And then going up, say like by 4x3 would be around 2,000.
Okay. And that's Canadian, correct?
Yeah, Canadian. Yeah.
So for the rest of the world, if you're in Europe, she owes you money, and for the United States, it's like $450. You're fine.
Yeah.
So there you go. But you have to pay for shipping, and that's where she makes the money for the Europeans. So that's how she gets it all back. Very cool. No, your stuff is wonderful. So it was very cool, very aquatic.
I enjoyed very much talking about your work.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. Yeah.
Really appreciate it. Well, Dave, keep calling you David. Where the heck is that guy? He's just
David, if you watched Adam on the Eve yesterday, David now is Vicky. He's had a sex change, but that's a whole other show. We'll discuss that later. So anyway, everybody, no, thank you very much, Vanessa. It was a pleasure having you. We'll see everybody next Thursday with another surprise artist, and we'll go from there. Everybody have a wonderful day. Cheers.
Hang in there, Vanessa.